Here is the Elgato 4K60 Pro Mark II capturing 4K 60 FPS gameplay in CashOS Linux. Heck yeah! While USB capture cards have primarily been the way to go on Linux for a while now due to the widely compatible UVC drivers, which have actually recently even just got better, PCIe capture cards haven't been as well supported. PCIe cards typically require dedicated drivers, which companies like Elgato and AverMedia sadly don't build for Linux. But that doesn't stop the community. Head on over to this GitHub link in the description, and all you need is one line to copy into the terminal, which downloads and runs the script to build the driver for the Elgato 4K60 Pro for your Linux distro. Adds it to the kernel loading at boot and allows you to use the capture card in programs like OBS Studio and GUVC View, and even multiple programs at the same time with multi-app support. This is specifically for the 4K60 Pro Mark II card. I don't think it will work for the original, but I don't have one on hand to test anymore. Once the driver is loaded, I had to tell it not to worry about the kernel conflict due to it expecting a normal Arch kernel and not specifically the CashOS kernel. I recommend rebooting after it's done installing. Then you can use the SC0710-CLI tool at the terminal to check the driver and signal status, reboot the driver, and manage it in other ways. This is fantastic. I was able to capture PC and console video in 1080p 60 and 4K 60 with minimal issues once I was up and running, but there are some limitations to be concerned with. First and foremost, HDR does not work. You cannot pass through HDR and have it automatically tone map to SDR as normal functionality would allow, as the dev hasn't reverse engineered the onboard commands for that functionality yet. And you can't capture HDR in the P010 or P016 color space, which is required to capture HDR, as they haven't figured out the hardware register maps for those color spaces yet. Secondly, changing EDID modes, which is the monitor profiles that tells the card what is supported, is currently not supported on Linux. This was a problem right away, as the person I was borrowing this card from had it set to a specific Dell 1080p 240Hz display, EDID, which my display did not support. On Windows, you can use the 4K capture utility to change whether the card uses its own internal EDID to list which display formats it supports, use the one from your plugged-in display, merge the two, or import custom EDID profiles. You will still need Windows for this in some way. Beyond that, resolution support does seem more limited in this Linux driver than you typically would have in Windows. 4K 60, 1440p 144Hz, and 1080p 240Hz, as well as 1080p 60Hz, seem to work fine. But I couldn't get, say, 1080p 120Hz working in Linux, for example, even though it's supported by the card. It detected that I was passing through that format, and it worked in Windows, but programs couldn't actually see a video feed from it. Sticking to one of the listed supported video formats like 4K 60 worked just fine, however, as did 4K 60 from a game console. No hiccups, fully recording some fast-paced gameplay. If you do switch resolutions, make sure you close your capture software first, or a kernel panic could happen. I didn't actually have this, but a kernel panic could happen or the driver could stall out. Honestly, this causes issues on Windows anyway, so it's not a big deal. In fact, even when using Windows for this very setup to switch my EDID profile and get everything working correctly, I kept having weird issues where changing the refresh rate just triggered the wrong modes on the card. Like, if I chose 59.94 Hz on my display output, it set the card to 30 Hz, and 50 Hz VRR mode when I set it to 60 Hz. Weirdness like that actually didn't happen once I was set up in Linux. All in all, pretty sweet support added here. I wouldn't personally go out and buy the 4K60 Pro for Linux over, say, a Magewell card or a USB card these days, especially since they have 4K60 supporting USB capture cards now. But if you already have one laying around and it's on the list of things keeping you stuck on Windows, give it a go. Sound off in the forums with how it's been treating you, and remember to be kind, rewind.